guys, and welcome to part 4. Oh my goodness, we're already at part 4. We are halfway through our 7 stages on how to minimize your child's behavior and really enhance the positive. I can't believe how quickly these weeks are going by. But utmost, I am so honored and proud at how some of you have really taken to the little strategies, the little advice, the little techniques that I've shared with you, and you are all doing amazingly. I'm overwhelmed with the positive response in which you're all sharing with me on how well these tips, tricks and techniques are really helping you to minimize your child's challenging behavior. And we're always saying minimizing because at the end of the day they are little kids and they are still trying to explore. And who's perfect all the time? If we can minimize these moments, then we are on to a winner. And today we're going to focus on how to set solid, consistent and manageable boundaries. Now, the word discipline can seem quite scary, rule with an iron fist sort of moment, and it's nothing like that. In fact, kids long for discipline, for boundaries, as it makes them feel safe, secure, loved, and if they're allowed to do whatever they wanted, that'd make them feel quite scared because it makes them feel like no one is there looking after them. So it's really important for our child's mental health and their safety and their well-being that we do have set boundaries, restrictions and discipline in place to make them feel safe. But the biggest mistake some parents make is they don't communicate with each other. And in order for discipline to work in your house, you and your partner need to be working together. There's no point you saying to your child that they can't have a snack before lunch if your partner is then going to say yes they can, because your child's then going to know how to play you up against each other and is going to know who they can go to in order to really manipulate those boundaries. And you will seem weaker as a team, so then whatever you say will never be validated and never hold any merit. So make sure that you and your partner work together in order to be a partnership in having these boundaries set and sticking to them. Oh my goodness, it's all about consistency with children, because as soon as you start deviating from one little rule or one little boundary, then they're going to keep pushing and gnawing at the rest. So the 7 things that you need to be aware of when setting boundaries is the first thing: be consistent. And consistency will make your child feel safe and secure because they know if they demonstrate this sort of behavior, this is going to happen. And again, parents need to agree together on what the rules may be, what the boundaries may be, and make sure they both enforce it together. If you say no, mean it. Now, this can be really hard because you might have said no to something that your child wants. They're crying, they're getting really upset, they're getting overwhelmed, and eventually you might then say, oh, you know what, go on then, it's fine. Do not do that, parents. That is a big no, because as soon as you start moving away from a boundary and give in to your child, they're going to know, well, I need to demonstrate this negative behavior in order to get what I want. So you need to be strong-willed, you need to be consistent so that if you say no, it means no. So have those clear rules because it'll help you and your child. On the flip side, if you make a promise, make sure you keep it. There's nothing disheartening in a child's world than if they've worked up to something that they've worked really hard for, they've been promised something, but then their parents turn around and say, oh, we can't do that now, I'm too tired. Or, no, we're not going to do that just yet. I've changed my mind, we're going to do this instead. Their whole world will feel like it has crushed. And then they're going to kick off. So you can't be cross at your child or upset with your child or disappointed in their negative behavior when you are the one that has broken your promise. So if you said you're going to do something, do it. You would expect that from an adult. If your husband or your wife or your partner turned around and said to you, you know what, darling, we're going to do this tomorrow night. And if then they turned around and said, you know what, I'm not feeling it, I'm too tired, you would be crushed as well because someone promised you something and they're not upholding to their promise. And that works the same way with a child and their parent. They put their trust in you. They put so much faith in you to make them feel safe, secure and loved. And the one thing that you promise them, you go back on, they're never going to believe anything that you say again. Keep your rules simple and clear. And that is it. These are the do's and these are the don'ts. That is it. Have them written down. Put them on your fridge. Sit down with your child and go through them together. I went through in part 1 talking and listening, and one of those things was setting boundaries and actually having that conversation with your child in terms of these are the rules and this is why they're in play, because then they're more likely to stick to them. So keep your rules simple and clear. The one mistake that we can make as parents is having too many rules. And now you might think, well, how can you have too many rules? You don't want to overwhelm your child and make them feel like they are so controlled that they can't do anything because you've got so many rules, because then they're going to be unhappy. They're going to start lashing out anyway because they are so controlled, so under the thumb, so restricted that they're going to have outbursts. So keep as few rules as possible, but make sure they are good ones that are really going to enhance the positive behavior and really minimize the negatives, and keep it fair. You don't want to overwhelm your child. So if you're introducing a new routine or a new technique, just really nurture that first until you've all got used to it before moving on to the next. Because if you're bombarding your child with too many things, they're going to feel overwhelmed and just lash out and not do any of them. And think about when you're at work and your boss gives you a new system that you have to work on, and then they bring another one, and then another one, and then another one. You sometimes think, oh my goodness, I just need time to work on this first before then you're giving me this, this, and this, and this. Again, put yourself in your child's shoes. They are mini adults, and their brains will work in a very similar way. And what you might feel pressured in terms of from your boss, your little leads might be feeling that pressure from you as well. So really take moments to put yourself in your child's shoes and don't overwhelm them with too many things. But overall, you just need to try and stay as calm and consistent as possible. And I say as possible because no parent can be calm all the time. That is just unreasonable for you. That is an unreasonable expectation for you as a parent, because there are so many pressures going on in terms of our daily lives that sometimes it can be the littlest thing that triggers an emotion out of us as well, which would work the same for your child. So don't beat yourself up if you have a moment of just losing it, just like you shouldn't beat your child up if they have a moment of weakness. Now, being calm and consistent, sometimes you need to move away from your rules ever so slightly. So if you've said to your child, right darling, can you tidy up your toys now please? Playtime has finished. And they sit there and they're like, well, I don't want to tidy up the toys. And they might start kicking off. One thing you can do to just reel it in again is say, right darling, it's time to tidy up. Mummy's going to come and help you. Which side would you like to tidy up first? That way you are doing it together. You've given them a choice as to which side they want to tidy up. And they're still doing what you want, but they're just not doing it by themselves. And warnings as well. You know, give your child a countdown, a warning. Prepare them for the end of whatever they're doing. But you've got to be understanding as well. So sometimes my eldest will say, okay, mummy, no problem. Can I just finish doing this first? And I'll say, yeah, of course. I don't know at what stage in her play she's reached. And she's got an end in her mind. And at the moment I say, right, playtime's over, in her mind she hasn't quite finished it. Just like if you're in the middle of something and your child calls you and you say, okay, darling, in a minute, I'm just going to finish this. It's exactly the same. Okay, so be a little bit understanding and lenient with your child, and don't expect them to do things right now when as adults we don't do that either. As parents, we soon learn how to pick our battles and when to really enforce the rule and when to possibly just distract them from what they are doing. So it all does come down to your own judgment. You do understand your child better than anyone because you spend the most time with them. All these videos are just trying to give you a little helping hand along the way. Also, there is nothing wrong with giving your child a reminder. If there's still something that is testing or that you're not happy with, just remind them, listen darling, you know that behaviour is not acceptable. So if you do that again, this is what's going to happen. One thing we need to make sure as parents is that our boundaries and our discipline are fair and consistent. And that is something that always needs to come into our minds. So make sure the discipline matches the actual behaviour rather than it being completely out of the ordinary. For example, if your child goes to throw a toy and you remember darling, we don't throw toys, they might break. Please don't do that again. Otherwise I'll take the toy off you. Already in that sentence, you've reminded them of the rule, you've reminded them of the behaviour that you expect, and you've also told them of the consequence. And that's really important. It's like a three stages within the actual telling and explaining process. So by then your child making that decision to throw the toy, you can then remind them, darling, mummy reminded you that if you were to throw that toy, it would be taken away. So mummy's now going to put that toy away and you can have it back tomorrow. It's done with. And if your child then starts kicking off, that is fine. They are just learning how to express their annoyance and their upset because you've just taken away their toy from them. But ultimately, they will learn a lesson there, which is what my parent says they mean. And that's going to hold a lot more merit than the little 2-minute tantrum that your little one might actually carry out. So after this video, go away, write down your boundaries, sit with your toddler, go through as a family and really make sure you and your partner are on the same wavelength. Have it visible somewhere, because not only will it help you to be consistent and remind you of the rules, but also you can refer back to it with your toddler and write somewhere those 3 parts. Acknowledging what they're doing, reminding them why they shouldn't be doing it, and what will happen if they do it. So happy writing, parents. Please do share some of your boundaries and your rule setting with me, because I love to know what's going on in other families, and because actually it does help when you share and you chat to other parents, because you might have thought something that somebody else might not have, and vice versa. So do share your boundaries and your rule setting with other parents and just talk. We don't do enough of that. You know, we are so worried that we're going to get judged, or that people are always going to question or have some sort of opinion on our parenting, when that is not the case. Because if you talk to the right person, there'll be no judgment whatsoever. There'll just be empathy, because you are dealing with a toddler. So go ahead, get cracking and get writing those boundaries. But that is the end of part 4, guys and girls. Thank you so much for joining me again. Remember, if you've missed any of the previous episodes, then click the parenting link that we've got up there and you'll have access to all the previous videos there. Give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any further episodes. But we are already halfway there. This is incredible. But thank you so much for joining me on this video today. I look forward to sharing with you parts 5, 6 and 7 over the next coming weeks. So don't forget to click the bell so that you don't miss out on any of the episodes and any of the videos that I am going to be uploading every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. GMT time. But again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your support, and keep going, parents. You can do this. Stay strong and remain consistent. Take care, guys. Bye.